Hi, welcome to Living the Life. I'm so glad that you could join us. I'm Esther Graham, your host, and I have a very interesting guest with us today. I have with us Kenneth D. James. He's a multi instrument musician. He's also an actor as well as a producer, and these just a few of the things that he does. So I'm going to allow him to share with us what he does, and he's going to tell us a lot of little goodies stories about what inspired him. So, without any further talk from me, let's hear from him. Kenneth, welcome.
Hi, Esther. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thanks for accepting the invitation.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm very happy to help out someone who reminds me of, like I said before, I feel like I'm talking to a family member.
Oh, awesome.
It's easy to talk to you. So thank you so much for allowing me to be
You're welcome. Oh, my goodness. I adopt you as my son.
here.
And your wife has to be my daughter.
Hey, we'll take it.
Okay.
I'm a musician, actor, producer, small business entrepreneur. I'm originally from the original hood, the west side of Chicago.
Okay.
I grew up there and I moved to California in my mid 30s, and I've been here ever since then. I've traveled back and forth. I've also lived in Taiwan and Hawaii
Okay.
during that period. I got out of Chicago. I couldn't handle the cold.
Oh.
Couldn't handle that cold weather. I
Mhm.
remember shoveling in winters, shoveling the driveway and just cursing my parents with
That
each.
must have been a lot of fun.
And then there would be weekends where I would go to my aunt's house, and my aunt had a house where her driveway went from the street to where the alley was, and that's where her
Okay.
garage was. So to get her car out, we had to shovel that entire
Oh
drive.
my goodness.
She would wake us, it was crazy. So growing up in that cold weather and having to
Mhm.
stand at the bus stop, I would just ask myself, why am I doing this? Why? First opportunity I had to get out of that cold, I came to California, and it's all history since then. And I love it.
Wow.
I love it. There's crazy things you hear about LA, and
Mhm.
90% of them are true. But it's if you find your niche out here, it can be a good thing.
Oh wow. So what part of California are you located?
I'm
Or
out
you,
by
you
the
said
mountain.
LA,
I'm in the burbs. I'm out by
the
the mountain.
burbs.
Yeah.
Oh,
When I
okay.
walk into my backyard, I don't see cement. I see nothing but mountains. And
Oh, what a
I
beautiful
get tons
view.
of wildlife. We get, it's really interesting coming from Chicago and coming from
Uh-huh.
where I came from in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Now I walk down the street and I see lizards running by.
Wow.
You don't see any rats, you see lizards.
Thank
And
God. Oh my
uh,
God. Oh my goodness.
coyotes, we get coyotes and bears and mountain lions.
Bears and
Bears
mountain
and mountain lions,
lions.
yeah.
Oh wow. Okay,
There's
so you are in the nature. It sounds like it's
Yes,
beautiful.
yes, very
Okay.
much. I've walked out my front door sometimes with my dogs, and there's been, coyote could be standing right out front,
Wow.
hearing you there. Thank God I have the dog with me. But they have been known to. There was recently, a couple of weeks ago, a coyote tried to grab a kid, a little
Oh
2-year-old
no.
kid. Yeah, the father was unloading the groceries from the car,
Uh-huh.
and the little kid was on the other side of the car, and the coyote came out of nowhere and started trying to grab the kid and drag it away.
Oh no. Oh my God.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
aggressive then, aren't they?
they can be, and I am one of those people. I love animals more than I do people, so
Really?
I defend the animals. They were here in this unincorporated part out by the mountain. They were here long before we were. And
Hmm.
as we move further into their territory, what do we expect these animals to do? They
Hmm.
have to survive. So if you got a little teacup poodle that's out in the backyard and they see it, that's dinner.
Oh my God.
There's a cat running around there, that's the chance you take. But I don't like it that when those things happen, and the mountain lions attack somebody's dog, well, if they go after the mountain lion, we moved into their territory. So we have to coexist with them. Yes, it's
Mhm.
not good that that happened to your pet or a bear is coming through someone's window and stuff. But if you move to where you know they are, how do you get mad at the bear?
So how do you guys manage that? I mean, as far as bears and things that
We
could
haven't
pose.
had any bears on our property and very close. It's been a couple miles away, but everybody usually has a 10-foot wall that separates the property.
Oh,
But
okay.
for a bear and a mountain lion and coyotes, that 10-foot wall is nothing.
Oh my
I've seen
goodness.
coyotes jump over those walls into people's yards. Like, you know,
Really? And
one day I
bears
let my
too?
dogs go. Oh, the bears, there's a video. I'll find the link and send it to you.
Uh-huh.
There was an incident last summer where this girl had 4 or 5 dogs, and 2 of them were medium sized, and the other ones were really small. And
Uh-huh.
they took off out of the door and ran into the yard. And they ran into the yard because there was a baby cub in the yard. So they went after
Oh,
the cub, which meant Mama Bear was right there
somewhere, right.
behind it.
Oh my
So Mama
goodness.
Bear is swiping at the dogs, and the girl comes running out of the house and tries to shove the bear off the fence.
What? Oh
Yeah,
my God.
she
What
was.
happened? What was the
The
outcome?
bear got the cub and took off and went the other way.
Oh, good.
But
Okay.
everybody was just like, I love my dogs, but I don't know if I would have ran out there to push the bear.
She was brave, I must say.
When the news interviewed her, she said she didn't even realize what she was doing. She reacted. All she saw was her
Oh,
animals in danger. So it was just a
fighter.
reaction, but I'm
Oh
not
my
running up
goodness.
on a bear. I'm sorry. Because if the bear
I
had
don't
turned
think it
around and
would either.
taken one swipe at her,
She would have been gone.
it
And the
would have
bear
been,
was really a huge bear.
oh
It
yeah,
was not.
oh
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. Oh wow.
There was just a famous mountain lion that just died. They called it P22 because they have collars. They catch them all the time, and they put the collars on them so they can
I
track.
think I saw that on the
And
news.
then they let them go back. So that's the thing. They don't take them and put them in cages. They take them, put trackers on them, and then they take them out back in the woods and let them go.
Okay.
I agree
Okay.
with that. That's how it should
Okay.
be. When you, from living in Hawaii, when you go surfing, you're going out into the water where you know that is dangers out there. There's sharks in the water. Now, if a shark comes up and bites you, why is it they go out and try to hunt that shark and kill it? That's wrong. You're swimming in the shark infested water. You already know this, so it's your fault. It's no one's fault but mine if I get bit by a shark when I'm surfing. I can't blame you for that. That's not your fault. Why is it the shark's fault? I look like food to him.
Mm.
So why do you go hunt the shark down? That's not right.
What makes the sharks attack humans? They say we're not their natural prey, but what?
Different thing. One thing that I do know is sharks will eat sea turtles. Now, sea turtles can grow to be very big, right? A lot of surfers who surf on shortboards are only about 4 feet long,
Okay.
which is like this. Yeah, I can spread my arms 4 feet. So when you're sitting on top of that with your legs dangling in the water like that,
Uh-huh.
underneath that looks like a big turtle.
Oh. Wow.
You know, so I surf a longboard. A longboard is as long as the shark would be. So it's not going to come after something its same size.
So you haven't had any incidents with the sharks when you surf?
No. And
Okay.
one of the warnings, which excuse me, I mentioned to you before, when I lived in Hawaii, I was taken, because I am of African-American descent, I was taken in by the Hawaiians there. One of the things that I learned when you're surfing, there's spinner dolphins, and spinner dolphins, they come out of the water and they twist and go back in. If you see spinner dolphins, that means there's a shark nearby, and you paddle in. Simple as that.
Wow.
That's what I was told, and I always followed that. But I was always with a group of people, you never go out by yourself. Rule number one, just like the people tell you don't get in a swimming pool by yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
don't go surfing by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anything happens, you're alone and nobody can help you.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a
And
lot of sense.
when you hear about a fatality, it's because someone went out alone. A lot of times.
Wow.
A very, 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 very close friend of mine who helped me learn to surf, his brother went out alone and they never found him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
it
sad.
happens. You get, and then you have tourists that will come to Hawaii and they've watched all the YouTube videos and they know
Mm-hmm.
everything about surfing and they just
Mm-hmm.
go out and all kinds of things can happen.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. So safety, always that
Safety
safety
first.
thing.
Safety first.
Yeah.
When I go surfing, as soon as I go to the beach, one of the first things I do is I sit by the edge of the water and just watch the waves and just see the direction how everything is going. I don't just grab my surfboard and paddle out and start surfing.
Okay.
See what's going on out there. And I say a prayer before I head out.
Yes. Hey, that's a good thing. I'm all for that.
I'm going out into nature. If you've ever, when you're on an airplane
Mhm.
and you go over water, if someone was down there on a surfboard, you wouldn't even see them. That's how much water is there. So imagine this little speck that you don't even count.
Oh wow.
I've had wipeouts before where I thought this could be it. It might be over. And then when you
Really?
survive it, you're like, oh my God, let's do it again.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
But
Well,
that's my
tell me.
craziness. That's my craziness. So.
So with surfing, it's a little bit of daring, taking a dare. I imagine it gives you what you call it, that adrenaline rush.
Adrenaline. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm afraid of water. I don't know how to swim,
You
and I'm a
try?
country girl.
You
No,
try?
well, I tried at one point. I think my cousin tried to teach me at one point, but I was acting too silly, and I was young at the time, and I
Right.
never learned. I would love to learn how to swim.
More people die in car accidents than people die surfing.
Okay, okay.
More
Hmm.
people die in car accidents than people die drowning.
Wow.
But
Okay.
statistically, if someone is surfing and something happens, they'll put that on the news. How many car accidents happen every day that we never hear about?
Yeah, well, you got a point. You do.
And that's
So,
how it's brought to us. That's all.
wow. And I'm trying to connect the two. You are an outdoor person, you love nature, and
Yes.
you are an awesome musician. So tell me, how did you get into, you have so many different hats you're wearing, as a musician. Can you tell me how you got started?
Music was a saving grace for me as a kid.
Okay.
I had very, very loving parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and my mom remarried, and we moved to Alabama, which where you are.
Yes.
I had a stepfather who made life very hard for me.
Wow.
And I was an abused kid, basically.
Oh.
I went through a lot with my stepfather and a couple of his brothers, a couple things that most kids would have probably turned out differently, but because I had music there as an escape for me.
Wow.
Not, I take that back, not so much as an escape, a comfort zone. And it didn't matter to me whether I was listening to rock and roll, classical music. Just music was always a soothing, calming comfort zone for me. If I have a headache right now, I'm not going to take an aspirin. I'm going to pick up one of my instruments and I'm going to start playing.
Wow. Okay.
I'll go in a room, put on classical music and light some candles and turn off all the lights, close the windows and just breathe and just work on my breathing, and to a point where whatever was bothering me or whatever pain I was dealing with, I've forgotten about that pain.
Wow.
That's where music started out for me, was an escape from that pain that I
Oh,
experienced. And then I found myself wanting more and more and more.
mm.
So I taught myself to play the instruments that I play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my grandmother put me in piano lessons at excuse me, school in Chicago for
Uh-huh.
Lyon and Healy, and I believe they are still in business. They've probably been there 120 years. Uh, but in music school, when you first go, they're teaching you how to play chopsticks. You know, the dun, 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 dun,
Yes,
dun, dun.
yes.
When I would go home, my grandmother is playing like Verdi and Puccini and
What?
classical music, and she's playing the piano. And when just the way her and my mom would play the piano, it was like, I don't want to do this. Dun, 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 dun. I want to
What?
play like they're playing.
Uh-huh.
And the only way to do that was my grandmother let me go sit at that piano and just figure it out.
Wow.
She would let me, and I'm talking to you now, it never crossed my mind before. And I really mean this until this very moment, how much I must have driven her nuts. I never thought about that until right now, because she let
Wow.
me play that piano. I would put records on her record player that I would borrow from my friends. I remember once, and I've never told this story to anybody. You're the first person that's going to hear.
Oh, share it. I'm all ears.
My family's going to find this interesting. I was in my grandmother's basement,
Uh-huh.
and there was an 8-track player there, and there was a George Clinton 8-track player. I don't know
Uh-huh.
what it was, but I had taken 2 hangers, the pants hangers that have the
Uh-huh.
long white thing. I had taken those apart, and I set up the chairs downstairs so they were like drums. And I'm
Oh,
sitting there just playing away with the music going, and I'm just playing.
wow.
And I stopped and I turned, and my grandmother was standing at the stairs. And I don't know how long she had been watching me. And she
Wow.
smiled and she walked away. And then next thing I knew, I was taking piano lessons. Then I went to drum lessons. And the drum teacher told my mother that it was a waste of time for me to be in the drum class.
What?
They had, when I went for the very first drum lesson, they had snare drums and music stands sitting there. And in the back of the classroom was a set of drums. While my mother was talking to the teacher, I went to the back, sat down, and I started playing the drums. And he looked in and he turned to my mother, and then she looked at me and did like this. And we left. And he told her if I was doing what I was doing just then, that wasn't the class for me. I needed something way
More advanced.
right. But the problem was having drums at home just didn't work, because drums are the loudest thing, and So I started leaning towards something else. But drums was my first love. Drums and piano.
Uh-huh.
Piano because of classical music. Drums
Uh-huh.
because it gave me something to beat all that tension out.
Wow.
My aunt, my uncle had a Fender jazz bass guitar, and I saw that, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and he wouldn't let me touch it. So I'm one of those people where you say to me, Kenny, you can't do it. That's like saying to me,
that to you can do it.
right, I'm going
You're
after
gonna
it
do
now,
it anyway.
so I can show you that I can. And I was like, you know what? If I can't play yours, I'm gonna get my own, and I'm gonna learn how to play it better than you play it. And then he saw me playing. My aunt, his wife, was the first band manager that I ever had. First band I ever played in. She put the band together.
Really?
Rehearsed in her basement, and it drove him nuts that I was downstairs in his house playing bass better than he did.
Oh my goodness. So you know what I'm hearing, Kenny? You have it's a gift. You have it within you. It's a God-given gift.
My grandmother said,
oh.
She said to me one day, you don't have a choice. It's in your blood. And my Uncle Lee had a trio where he was the drummer and the band leader. Fats Waller is my grandmother's first cousin. So I have royalty in my family.
Wow.
So it's always been something. I never used it. I used it for myself to go, I want to be as good as they are. I want to have the
Wow.
recognition they have. And if I don't get it, I don't, it doesn't matter. But it was a driving force for me. That and the fact that my grandmother did not allow me to go out and play basketball with the kids on the street.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get to hang out with the kids on the street because
Oh.
I grew up on the west side of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And what went on in those streets, I was not going to be part of. I was the nerd. I was the little kid that had the horn rim glasses and the backpack and got picked on all the time.
Mm.
Music, when I knew I was getting picked on out here, but when I got into that house, into my grandmother's house, there was going to be some good food, some good music, and happy times.
Wow.
And all that was my saving grace.
Mm.
I didn't get into fights. I didn't have the troublesome kids life on the west side that a lot of kids did, because I didn't have beef with anybody. I did my thing. If you said something smart aleck to me, I heard it. I kept walking.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
always been that type. I didn't become any way confrontational as a youth until I got to Alabama. And that's when, I had my little moments then, but because I faced a different racism in Alabama than I faced in Chicago.
Oh, tell us about that.
In Chicago, it's a racist place, but coming from a family that's mixed, and an aunt that was a hippie, and my uncle was a redhead Irishman, that her husband. So when you see that as a kid, it's hard to develop that hate, especially as a kid, because you see the people that you look up to happy. So if they're happy, how can you have animosity towards something that's making them happy?
Right.
And you knew people in Chicago were racist, but you also didn't feel like you had to stay in your lane type thing. You could speak up and you could stand up against it. And mind you, this is, let's say I graduated 73, 74, right? We'll just go around the high school years.
Okay.
So in Alabama, for me, there was still this Black oppression going on, where I was told by Black people, including the boys' advisor in my school, you can't talk to white people like that.
Right.
And I was like, excuse me? What do you mean? And my first or second week of school, I got into it with a guy who we're playing basketball, and for no reason, he would just elbow me and then look at me, and he would, like, kind of what, egging me on, what are you gonna do? And he was a pretty big guy. What he didn't understand is I'm from the west side of Chicago. I'm not a country boy. We operate differently. And when we got in the locker room and he went to pull his sweatpants down and they got around his knees, he caught the worst beating he ever got in his life.
Oh my goodness. So you were the aggressor there.
At that point, I turned the tables, because now you can't move. Your pants are around your knees and ankles. You can't do anything.
Wow.
And it never happened a second time.
Wow. So did that take care of that situation with him elbowing you?
Yes, it did, but it also put other people in a position where they felt like they need to challenge me now.
Oh, wow.
It's like the guy goes to jail and he beats up the toughest guy in jail, so now he's the tough guy there. It's that type of mentality. I didn't come from that type of mentality. I don't care if you were black, white, green, purple. I got cousins with blonde hair and blue eyes. So why are you coming at me like it didn't register with me that hatred was just inbred in these people.
Yeah.
So I went to 3 different high schools in Alabama.